If I start with one sugarcane and have to double it every day, how long can I last, and how much sugarcane can I farm? Before we start this challenge, there are a couple of ground rules. In order for the sugarcane to count, I need to have met my quota by the time the day counter in the F3 menu changes over. Any sugarcane that I'm using to meet my goal cannot be used later, and I must store it in a chest for the rest of the run. Now that I'm ready to start the world, I want to come up with a plan. If I don't think this through, I'll barely make it anywhere. I'll get my first stack of sugarcane by exploring the world, since you can find sugarcane along riverbanks in most biomes. Once I have that, I need diamond tools. The issue is, caving is really slow. Instead, I'll find a village where I can farm sticks during the first couple days to get a toolsmith that sells diamond tools. I can make a simple iron farm for the rest of my gear and spend the rest of the time farming sugarcane. On day 1, I spawned in and grabbed basic materials before exploring for a little bit until I found a village. The blacksmith gave me iron and I killed a golem, giving me almost full tools and armor. After that, I left the village to farm wood so that I could trade for emeralds. I farmed all night and came back with enough wood to last me the rest of the run. On day 2, I set up a basic iron farm and a basic sugarcane farm, and collected the 2 sugarcane that I needed to finish off the day. On day 3, I had started to trade with villagers and expand my farm, and I was easily able to collect my 4 sugarcane for the day. Day 4 was still easy enough because I only needed 8 sugarcane, so I spent most of the day building the location for my future main sugarcane farm, and didn't worry about much else. I fixed the broken iron farm and began to prepare for the next day. Day 5 would only need 16 sugarcane, so I had a few other goals for the day. The first thing I wanted to do was find a lava pool, so I could use lava to increase the efficiency of my iron farm. If the farm was fast enough, I could trade the iron to villagers, and would essentially have automatic emeralds. I also mined some more dirt, which I would use to expand my sugarcane farm at a later date. I used a diamond that I had found earlier in the run in a blacksmith to make a diamond shovel, which quickly sped up my dirt collection and made it much easier. On day 9, only 4 days from now, I would need to collect 4 stacks of sugarcane, so I would need to increase my farm's efficiency while I still had time. The major issue that was slowing me down was running around picking up sugarcane, so if I could get an allay, they could pick up the sugarcane for me and increase efficiency. So at the end of the day, I farmed 16 sugarcane and set out to explore, looking for an outpost with an allay. On day 6, even though I would be looking for the outpost with the allays, I would still need to gather 32 sugarcane, and since I wouldn't be at my base to collect the sugarcane, I would have to find it naturally spawning while looking for allays. Luckily, I was able to find enough and could continue my search for the allays. While exploring, I found a couple of villages and shipwrecks, but nothing of much value, and by the end of day 6, I found an outpost. All that I had left to do was bring the allays back to my base on day 7. If I didn't go fast enough, I would likely lose the run here, because if I couldn't make it back to my main base, I wouldn't be able to farm the stack of sugarcane required for that day. So, with that in mind, I began to bring my allays back home as the sun began to set, with less than 10 minutes to get all of the sugarcane that I would need for that day, which was twice as much as yesterday and only half of the time. Now that I had allays, I would be able to gather sugarcane much faster. It would help me out an incredible amount throughout this run. I quickly got a stack of sugarcane and began expanding the farm by placing more dirt out in the ocean. With this new expansion, I now had a large enough area that I could comfortably expand the sugarcane farm for as long as I played on this world. The only issue now was that although I had plenty of space on the farm, I wasn't producing enough sugarcane to fill it up, and I would be hard pressed to get 2 stacks the next day, or 4 on day 9. Towards the end of day 7, I decided that I needed to go exploring because I didn't have enough sugarcane and it wasn't growing fast enough for me to gather it in time. Instead, I could find naturally spawning sugarcane on the riverbanks throughout the world, which would be much faster because I didn't have to wait for the sugarcane to grow. The only issue with this method is that it was limited because I would have to explore further out each time to find more and more sugarcane, and eventually I wouldn't be able to find it. But because I was so short on time, I did it anyways on day 7, and found the sugarcane just in time for the end of the day. Even though I had enough sugarcane for day 7, I still had the issue of not expanding my farm fast enough, so I decided to find even more sugarcane in the wild that I could use to expand the sugarcane farm, hopefully making it faster for day 8. So, on day 8, I began exploring for extra sugarcane. I got about 32 extra, which would help bolster my farm speed. After that, I spent the day at the farm, gathering sugarcane and making great use of the allays. With my extra time, I traded with some villagers for more emeralds and a diamond pickaxe, and then I started breeding them, hoping to find a farmer villager to sell me food. Because of my preparations from the day before, I had an excess amount of sugarcane and easily got my 2 stacks of sugarcane just a few minutes into the day, leaving me with a full day on day 8 to expand the farm and prepare for day 9, where I would need 4 stacks of sugarcane. The steps that I took to prepare for day 9 were simple. I gathered more sugarcane and expanded the farm as I went, and I bred villagers, hoping to get more diamond tools and armor and possibly an infinite food source from a farmer villager. By the end of day 8, I had many more villagers and had substantially expanded my farm, allowing me to grow sugarcane much faster and have a much larger supply for the next day. On day 9, because of the insane requirement of 256 sugarcane, I spent the entire day in my base, trading with villagers while I waited for the sugarcane to grow. I killed a few iron golems, gathered iron, traded with villagers, and got a diamond pickaxe, but there wasn't much I could do besides wait for the farm to grow, since I wasn't gaining any excess sugarcane that day. As night began to fall, I had about 2 stacks of sugarcane, which means I was perfectly on pace to get my 4 stacks of sugarcane by the end of the day. The only issue was that I hadn't expanded my farm at all that day, because I didn't have any extra sugarcane to help expand the farm, meaning on day 10 I wouldn't have a fast enough farm to be able to gain sugarcane. So, I took a huge risk and started using my excess sugarcane that I had already gained throughout that day to start expanding the sugarcane farm, even though I didn't have 4 stacks yet. Luckily, this paid off immensely since I was able to get the 4 stacks by the end of the day, but I also expanded my farm quite a large amount, giving me a chance of being able to maybe get to 8 stacks by the end of day 10. Although I'd spent the day gathering diamond tools, I realized they really weren't that useful since there weren't many more blocks that I was mining, and all I really needed was a diamond shovel and a diamond axe. Nonetheless, I had the diamond tools to use in the future if this world lasted long enough and if I ever needed more resources, so I was well set up for the next few days, and watched the sun rise on the beginning of day 10. At this point in time, I had fully expanded my sugarcane farm just about as much as I could, traded with the villagers as much as I needed to, had a good amount of food on me, and had pretty much nothing to do. All I had to do now was wait for the sugarcane to grow, but I needed 8 stacks of sugarcane that day, and that was fairly unlikely. Today I would have to bide my time and just hope that the sugarcane grew fast enough to get me 8 stacks. I had very little that I could possibly do to save this farm, but I would try as much as I could for the entire day. I built a small wheat farm that I would be able to use in the future of this world to be able to breed animals if I made it past this day. And whenever I saw a piece of sugarcane grow, I broke it and gathered it up. As night fell, I had about 3.5 stacks of sugarcane, which was actually pretty good, since all I really needed was about 4 stacks by the time night fell on day 10, so that I could get another 4 stacks by the time the day ended. I ran around and used my allays for the rest of the day to gather sugarcane, slowly gathering up the amount that I needed. But the night did not treat me well, and I ended up getting very little sugarcane that night, ending off the night with only about 6.5 stacks of sugarcane, about a stack and a half shorter than my goal. Which meant, unfortunately, the run would end at the end of day 10, meaning I survived 9 days of doubling my sugarcane every single day. This challenge was really fun and difficult, but I feel like I made a lot of mistakes, like getting allays, and I could have definitely made it a few more days if I'd used the first few days better. If you liked this video and want to see me do it again, but actually do it well, leave a comment down below and subscribe for more videos.